Hi, this is Privateer Station, and today we're bringing you day 243 with Mark Feygin, Russian opposition politician, and Olexiy Arestovych, advisor to the office of the President of Ukraine, Lieutenant Colonel. Today they are talking about Kakhovskaya hydroelectric station and the risks of explosion there, dirty bomb claims that Russia was propagating, and also about the head of Motor Sich Corporation of Ukraine that was apparently working for Putin's regime. Enjoy! Dear friends, glad to see you all on Feigin Live. It is Monday, 24th of October, and 3 minutes past 10 in Kiev, day 243 of this war in Ukraine. Olexiy Arestovich is our usual guest. Good evening, Alexei. By the way, 243rd day. Donetsk airport and the first conflict defended itself for 242 days. So with that milestone, you can probably feel what it was like, a little bit. This box that was shot at from all directions could stand for 242 days and resist Putin's occupants. So, 8 months, right? Almost 106,000 watching us live, 45,000 clicked the like button. The usual ask to please share links to that stream in your social media, in the places where you discuss current events, subscribe to Feigin Live, to Olexiy Arestovich, and to the Privateer Station, if you are watching or listening to that in English. Alright, we missed today's circumstances. Let's start with what happened on the front in these 2 days. Well, also we probably should mention Sumy and Chernigov that is being periodically shelled, attacked from the Russian side. Did they get attacked again? No, we usually start with Kharkov. I was thinking that we probably should include these two regions in our daily as well. Kharkov, is it still being shelled? Yeah, a little bit, but not as much as it was before, till we push them out. So probably at least twice less. And the goal here is to remind that yes, we do remember about other regions that are on the front line. They're being attacked as well, even though there's no hot military action going on the ground there. So Svatova, Russian side managed to organize. They even called their group Group West. They have single source of command in that direction, and they even trying to start counterattacking. A little more to the south, see there are two red arrows at the bottom near Kremenaya. This is where. But if you carefully look at the map, you see a couple blue protrusions towards the road separating two sides, towards the road P66. So, is it just mobilized who are attacking? Well, it's mixed. It's a core made of cadre military, and then they added mobilized troops to those detachments. Alright, so it's a mix. Are they dying more than experienced soldiers, or it doesn't really matter? Mark, they're dying in pretty good numbers, yes. We just want to understand, because there existed a thesis that mobilization gives mass, and it also fills the gaps in defense line. Even Putin mentioned that in his speech, that the whole front is 100 kilometers, about 1,000 kilometers, and mobilization covers those gaps in the front line. Yeah, it definitely does both. Mass is mass, and if you put them in gaps, even if it's inexperienced, but 400 troops with AKs, maybe support them with some tanks and jets, and a little bit of core of professional army. Yeah, they become a force that we need to fight with. But the other side is that trying to hold Svatova at all costs, they are going into counterattacks, but they also meet counteractions of the same type from Ukrainian side. And we will not go in deep into details of that because our command has not released much. But those who are careful can see that there are several differences on this map from a few days ago. And there are several protrusions towards that road. Also near Kremenaya, they're active. They're trying to push a little bit on the north and push on the south. But it's more difficult there because also if they lose Kremenaya, if they lose that part of the front, they really endanger Svatov up north because we'll be sort of semi-surrounding it from the bottom. And the traditional attacks here are now directly from Kremenaya to the west and a couple arrows to the southwest. Remember, just a few months ago, Ukrainian side was defending here. Now, Russian side is really concerned about us taking back Bakhmut. Our troops actually pushed them back. Territory that Wagner was trying to take for 2 months, losing hundreds and thousands of men. Our people kicked them back a couple miles in some parts of this front, and basically in a couple days took these territories back and occupied more advantageous positions for defense. So, let's talk a little more about Bakhmut. Is it mobilized troops in this direction? Oh no, here it's a mix of private Wagner, Ahmad detachment and a little bit of Russian cadre troops and so-called Donetsk and Lugansk Republics troops. So there are no mobilized on this front. There are some, but they're not the core of this group. Why I'm asking these questions is the corpses of mobilized keep popping up in Russia. Yeah, regional media are talking about that, like in Catherineburg, something like Vasily is done. So we're trying to gauge how sensitive is it. If they will be thrown at Bakhmut or Svatova, they'll be dying in larger numbers, and this will be more visible in Russia. Look, we sent Vasily, and he came back, but not in the same condition as we sent him out. Yeah, probably not to the degree that it's really depressing the population. I think they need losses to continue for a month or two at big numbers. We basically get out up to a battalion tactical group, up to 500 troops per day on their side. And it's a mix of dead and wounded. So altogether, sum of losses daily is about 500. And it's a mix. It's a mix of mobilized with cadre. So those who are fighting since March or February, they probably, we can call them professional, whatever. But this is a mixed number. It's prisoners, wounded, and killed. But roughly, they're losing one battalion tactical group per day. That's their current rate. And what's the relation to Ukrainian losses? It's still the same, about 1 to 6. So for 500 Putins, you guys lose about 80. Yeah, same thing. Not all of them are dead. It's a mix of wounded and killed. So the line near Bakhmut changed, and we'll see how it will evolve later. Let's go down south. Gorlovka, Marienka. There are small attempts of them to enlarge these light red areas. Couple platoons, same. Try to get to an intersection, try to get to a hill, capture that, get defeated, fall back, repeat that tomorrow. Zaporizhia, the fight between UAVs and small groups on the ground, some artillery shelling. Now let's go to Kherson region. So on Kherson, remember we said we don't know what the goals are. Now, looking at a set of different signs, they're not going to leave Kherson area. They're actually fortifying their group. So was it sort of a trap? No, they cannot produce these rather complicated imitational activities. They were basically evacuating the FSB and Minister of Internal Affairs groups from that region. And it's understandable why, because these guys are not even fighting. They're just sleeping in their barracks, and 2-3 times per night they were being shelled, and they were losing quite a lot of people. So, and they're not even on the front line. They're Putin's administration, occupation administration, and military police. So, yeah, they evacuated those, but they brought in more military in, and it's a difficult terrain. It's not so easy to deoccupy. We talked about that before, but we can talk to that again. There are a lot of irrigation and concrete structures around the fields, and in essence, it's fortified elements that prevent your heavy armor from moving fast. Also, it's very open terrain, it's fields, so the moment you or the enemy sees each other, artillery will start chiming in. And this is a comprehensive task to take this back. We're working on this. We also shot up Kakhovska gas road. There was a column of armor moving through, and we covered them pretty well. This column is no more. Also, if you look up in the north, there is a region of Vysokopolye there. 2 weeks ago, it was occupied. Now that area is ours, so that's a big chunk. Oh yeah, we do track that. We just want to understand the dynamics and perspectives of Kherson deoccupation. Is it real till the end of winter or in spring, or what do you think? Mark, it's very difficult to say. I would not want to put false aspirations and expectations into our listeners. It's very difficult to fight, and fighting in Kherson area is even more difficult. So I wouldn't even peg dates to this operation. We are working. When the results will be brought to fruition, it's hard to tell, but there'll come a day. Okay, we have about 400,000 watching us live, over 100K click the like button. Again, thank you so much for joining us on Monday, spending your evening with us. The usual, we're just trying to tell you everything that's going on the front and share some strategic deductions from this. So the next question. You have heard, you have seen. Now they're talking more and more about Kakhovska power plant, hydroelectric power plant. We'll talk about dirty bomb later. So Russian side claims that Ukrainian military is going to destroy Kakhovska hydroelectric plant. They have it occupied. Their troops are there. They put some explosives in the dam. We did touch on that earlier. So why do you think they're talking about this? Are they going to explode it? To blow it up? It does have military use. They can create a situation where they flood the left bank for miles, and even after us taking the right bank, that will preclude us from crossing Dnieper and continuing success, manifesting it further down towards Crimea. So they're saying they'll also flood half of Kherson. No, right bank is higher. Right bank is tall, so most likely waters will not be a threat. Left bank is very low. It will be covered with water for miles and miles and miles to Crimea. Will it be impossible to cross it? it'll be very difficult to cross the river itself, and then it'll be much more difficult to create any condition for our military to set base and operate from that. So in essence, they're blocking that direction and covering the flank, so you don't need to worry about that side and concentrate your troops on the Zaporozhye area. The fact that they'll endanger and probably kill 200,000 citizens living on that bank, they don't care. So they're also setting explosives not so much on the dam itself. It's difficult to blow this thing up. You need probably to hit it with some nuke or something. But they're setting explosives at the system of locks. So this one is much easier to destroy, and it will produce the same effect. Water will pour out. And how much time do you think it'll take to repair the dam? Is it totally impossible to fix it while military operations are underway? Because they'll probably be retaliating and shooting back at you while you're doing it? Yep, no. There is no way to fix it during the warfare. It'll be capital catastrophe and artificial man-made catastrophe in this region. And the size and consequences could be summarily related to Chernobyl disaster in terms of acreage and possible people's victims, and need to relocate thousands, tens of thousands of people. So that'll be a big task to rebuild after the war. All right, let's talk about the other topic, about the dirty bomb. Shoigu, Russian Minister of Defense, called everybody and told them, I don't know if he mentioned that it was you who's going to explode the dirty bomb. Why are you going to do that? Why do you want to do that? Mark, I think it's not good for a clean bomb to be thrown at them. These guys deserve only a dirty bomb. Right. They don't have big and clean, they have little and dirty. Right, okay. Why was he picking the phone and calling everybody and begging and telling them about some mythical dirty bomb? Some people were afraid, and they partially. And they did push back, though, and say that, hey, you guys are the ones who are going to explode that, and point the finger at Ukraine. This is a very basic version, but do you have any thoughts about it? I think this is a system of blackmail that there is a chain that is developing here. We had Chernobyl station, remember, at the beginning? They did threaten that there may be a catastrophe there. Then after a while, there was a Kiev dam. Then there was a grain deal. Stop it, otherwise people will be dying from hunger in Africa and Middle East. Zaporozhye nuclear power plant didn't work. Novokakhovskaya dam doesn't seem to fly well. Okay, let's say we have a dirty bomb. So they are continuing to create conditions and terms for possible use of tactical nuclear device. But I think the main goal for these phone calls is not real use. I think it's a political blackmail to push the West and make Ukraine to sit down at the negotiations table. We are refusing to do that until they withdraw, and they're trying to push the West to produce some effort on us to make sure that perhaps we'll sit down and negotiate. And until G20 summit, they're trying to maximize their efforts to possibly create additional threats on the Kiev direction, to maybe create electric blackouts in the country, and to bring more hysteria about dirty bomb, about another dam. Not too many people believe them, though, because even ministers of defense of France and Britain made their statements yesterday. They said, we don't believe you, don't even go this way. But, they have to do something. So poor Russia is trying to figure out ways to deceive and blackmail under Putin and to convince everybody in things that they're already convinced about. That Russia is occupied by a group of dangerous idiots. Yeah, these are evil idiots indeed. Okay, we have 450,000 watching us live. Over 130,000 click the like button. Thank you again for staying with us. We've been almost 20 minutes live. Please continue share links in your social media and make sure those who need to see that stream, they do. They do get a chance to. All right, let's discuss another thing. The news about head of Motor Sich Corporation, Boguslav, was detained, and Ukrainian police already produced some evidence. He's indeed talking to somebody on the phone. Let's listen to that and then discuss it. On air, by air, they are transferring troops and armor to fortify Russian troops in Kharkov region. And this is the group that's being transferred on the helicopter engines that he shipped to Russia. Was he shipping them before the war? Part before, part during the war. This is March of 22. No, we're not afraid. We're with them. They will leave. If you push harder, they'll leave. Many people are dead. And now they strike on Motor Sich. Director is not against it. So, if you do that, we can use that media as a media. Iskander M hit the territory of the plant. This is March of 22, March of this year. He was attempting to send jet engines to Russian Federation. You had contacts in Chernogoria and some other countries, and maybe Kyrgyzia. Just define how much do you want, and we can ship through them. And this is May 22. He acknowledges in this conversation that he is sending dozens of these engines to Russia. How many more do you want? D-36? D-36 is helicopter engine. We have a contract with you for another 4, and then additional 2. Oh yeah, I've been shipping you guys by dozen, so it keeps going, right? So, this is our so-called hero. He's tell me more about this guy. He's a typical, what they call red director. How long was he there? At least 30 years, right? And even before that. And all the time he was waiting for so-called liberators to come and join that to Russia. Because Russia failed to build their own helicopter engines. They're low quality and keep breaking. So they organized a supply of these engines from Ukraine before the conflict and during the conflict. And Russian side actually asked them to intensify the supply of these engines because events were unfolding and getting ready to happen. And he knew that, and he continued to supply them and continued to do it during the war. And do you think how long he'll get for that in prison? Well, it's an interesting process. Now his employees are staging protests for their wonderful leader. I just need to say that, hey, organizers of these protests, we're documenting all that activity, and after we're done with that character, we'll get down to how and why are you protesting. Is it purely ideological, or are you getting funding? So There was a scandal before the war about partially selling Motor Siege. Was it with his participation? Of course, yeah, he was doing everything he could to get Ukraine rid of this factory and transfer the technology and the production capability to Russia that he apparently loves so much. What do you think he'll get? Life in prison? Don't know. We'll see. It's a legal process. Once it unfolds, we'll be able to discuss the sentencing. But yeah, we got him. All right, so let's sprinkle some international news here. Boris Johnson refused from participating in the next election round in Britain, and he either agreed with Rishi Sunak or he decided to skip that round, and so now Rishi Sunak is the only contender. He's originally from Hindustan, and his parents immigrated to UK. Yeah, they're calling him millionaire from the slums, right? Yeah. Well, regardless, he already stated that under his management, aid to Ukraine will be doubled. So you suspect it doesn't affect the situation? No. In Britain, they have consensus on in regards to Ukraine. Both parties agree. In America, there is a nuance, and again, it's a nuance. The within Republican majority, they're discussing minority for now, majority probably after elections. They're discussing should we increase or decrease help to Ukraine. So it's a process. In Britain, no, they're more solidified. They realize that the crisis has a lot to do with the current events happening in Ukraine. And regardless, they're still holding fast and supporting us. Speaking of Johnson, he's a rather cunning character. So the consequences they're facing now economically, they actually are the ones that are catching up with UK's decision over the last 2 years. So he probably doesn't want to deal with fighting these consequences, and he's letting somebody else to take the fall and to make those unpopular decisions. For a new prime minister, it's a chance to show that he can do something and that he can deal with the difficult situations. And for more system persons, not self-made like this new guy, they probably taking a pause, letting the new people to deal with fallout, and then they'll have a better chance a couple years later, the next elections, to step back in, because they're playing a long game. Okay, Gerasimov, the head of Russian command, called. Oh yeah, same story. He called with the head of joint chiefs of staff, joint military chiefs of United States, and warned them about possibility of dirty bomb being used in Ukraine. Yeah, they're active. I think Boguslav is the dirty bomb. That's exactly what should be called a dirty bomb, and his thugs who are organizing these sales. Many people are asking also, why were you documenting it in 2020 since 21, but you are not stopping him? Well, the answer is simple. The articles that they're being accused of, they did not exist in our criminal code. They were added only after the war with Russia escalated in February. And also, he is the director of one of the biggest military industrial complex factories, and we needed to gather data and to gather material enough to accuse him and sentence him. So his defense is claiming that we have no materials, there is no signatures. There is signatures, there are documents confirming that. They're just making a good face when they're losing a game. And basically, we are proving now that he was. Once we got enough material to prove that they indeed were supplying engines to military helicopters. I'm watching some media. He seems to be a very flamboyant person who liked escorts, and there are a lot of pictures of him with gals and saunas and having fun here and there. Yeah, he traveled and enjoyed life. Just watching that and thinking, where does he get all that much energy? You know, in Israel there is another politician with his last name starting with his name starting with L, and people in the know are saying that Russians also have direct access to that politician. This is a classic model for creating long-term contacts with the person. Okay, we have another interesting topic. You can see a document of a work group of Yermak Makfol. Let me, as a person who can read a little bit of Ukrainian, read it that it says roadmap for the sanctions about some people, more people in Russian Federation. This is a rather sweet list. It touches about different jerks like public figures, media personas, arts and crafts, and there is a bunch. There is a Baskov singer, Bezrukov, he's an actor, Buzova, another famous singer, more movie people, Boyarsky, Gagarina, Polina, she's a singer. Oh yeah, she's Gagarina, same as myself. Just a last name that matches Yuri's. Galustian. Did he use his usual phrase from his comedies? Yeah, you're referring to his role as a guard in that comedy. Yeah. So I don't know, but this is a good list. This is a brave list with a lot of some Ukrainian stars, Ukrainian roots. Dobronravov, I think he played in some of the recent Russian movies and made a few statements. I'm watching other ones. Yeah, I don't watch that crap though. Oh, you're watching like Lars von Trier? Oh yeah, yeah. Mark, they are a lost generation watching all that stuff. Duzhev, Dugin is their philosophic advisor. A lot of TV personalities, Kandelaki, Kyosayan. That guy who's singing about kissing everywhere, Kandelaki, that's a media personality that is exactly about kissing everywhere. Lebedev, some Ukrainian stars that are working in Russia now. I even saw the wife of somebody, I forgot. Okay. What's, do you think, the chance of this list of these stars and public personas and propagandists that this list will be accepted by the Western powers and they will add them to the sanctions list? Let me see how many of them are there. 166 public personas supporting the war. Yakubovich is the last of them. The magic field of wonders, right? It's a TV show. Yeah, and tonight you win Lada, the car, for the death of your son in Ukraine. There are some people missing from that list, though, like, the well-known pedophile from Spain, supported with Putin's money. I wonder why he's not on this list, for example. Might have missed him. Well, that's sad. Do you think we'll continue adding people to that? Yeah, we'll pin him to that list. We'll stick it in and break it off. Do you... Oh, so was it the National Security Council that adopted this list? Yes, that is Ukrainian Security Council that confirmed that list. So I'm curious, do you think how tall is the chance for this list to be added to the sanctions in the West? This is not a simple way, Mark, because they take it more serious when it's against personas, not against companies. What I'm asking is that the flow of sanctions is somewhat slow. There's some slowdown there, and some people manage to evade it. Mark, West is very slow with sanctions. They're defending the rights of people, their property, so their judicial system is very careful with making such decisions. I don't know. I think it's bullshit. It's war, and no, it's the West stands on the rights of people and the rights of citizens, and you can file a lawsuit back at the accusers. There are people trying to fight individual sanctions. It's much easier to sanction the country and the company, but even if somebody's reputation is splattered with blood and awful events, it's more difficult to sanction that person. I think the count here is for United States, and I don't think that will happen before the campaign, before the elections in November. I don't think politicians will deal with that list before they're done with elections, but perhaps later. All right, we just needed to voice that. We have about 500,000 people watching us live, about 160,000 people watching us live. We actually have deputies of European Parliament watching us. Many of them are writing me after that. Some people are complaining that I'm reading the phone during the stream. I am never just doom scrolling my phone. I'm watching for media and messages that I get during the stream. And same thing, Mark. I get messages that I cannot ignore. My position here. So we are asking, and we know that many of the American think tanks and politicians are also watching that. Some people watching that in English, some people understand in Russian. We please address that to you to find ways to expedite individual sanctions process, because these are propagandists. These are the people who are brainwashing the population in Russia. And these are pseudo thinkers of Russia, like Valdai Club think tank. By the way, that Valdai Club, they published a very lost document today. I read some snippets from it. They failed even to mention anything about the place of Russia after this war. I wonder if they don't even see it anywhere. I think the only thing they said is, despite how the current conflict in Europe ends, this is just the beginning. And they're trying to make laugh of Chinese attempts to become the second pole of power in the world. That tank, they had some characters who actually confirmed the whole expansion, that Putin's memorandum. All these advisors, they were supporting, they were saying, now we can resolve all the issues of resentment that we had, that were being accumulated for 30 years after the fall of USSR. And they were helping him to become more decisive in making that step. And now that he made that step and it starts to roll in the wrong direction, they're taking hands off that process and saying, no, it's not me. Why are you looking at me? We've never done anything like that. That they're like throwing that hot potato between each other. We suspected, but it just shows once again that so-called expertise is, for the most part, is a shape of psychological sublimation that is an outlet for people to dump their fears and expectations into the experts. And when it comes a time to pay for the bills, they're stepping out and saying, no, we never did that. It's all about these guys. They volunteered. They did it on their own. It reminds me of another anecdote. Grandson is watching an old photo album with his grandpa, and he's pointing fingers at some of them. It's like, who are these people in tall? Who are these people in black dresses with interesting insignia? Oh, little my man, these are fascists. What did they want? Oh, they wanted to oppress everybody. They wanted to kill some people and capture the world. And who's the one with the mustache? Oh, that's the main Nazi, Grandpa. Okay, and he was the leader. He was leading them all. Okay, and who is that guy who's standing nicely dressed, so tall, who's standing like that next to him? Oh, Grandpa, that looks like you. What are you doing next to him? Oh, that's me. Yeah, I'm telling him, just a minute, Herr Hitler. And yeah, that's their stance now with that Valdai Club. They're basically, leave my villa at the Cuomo Lake. We never told him to attack anyone. We always predicted that war will be a disaster. So they're just paddling back. I wrote a few documents for similar organizations. Did you write any of those, Mark? Let's break this stream. No, no streams. No, my documents were different. They had a different character. They were basically telling that this country is effed up, direction is effed up, our management is effed up. Oh, I know, Mark. I know these reports. I actually wrote one in 2003 about Russia annexing Crimea and described how they will do that. And I was called into the Minister of Internal. I was called into internal affairs, internal investigations, and I was asked, "Why are you sowing discord between friendly nations?" So I had a lengthy discussions about that. And oh yeah, they also bring up your photos with Dugin and you visiting Russia in those days. Yeah, I was working. I was working on a mission, so I was in my official capacity. Another thing, Dmitry Rogozin confirmed that he had his wet dream fulfilled, that he actually was on the Zaporozhsky front line, ex head of Russian space. His fat face and big belly are, yeah, smack front there in Zaporozhye in a picture. Mark, visiting the front line is not too big of a deal. Being there and having to execute and having to do certain actions for failure to work, which you may actually face criminal prosecution, that is more difficult. And I even know some people who crossed the line and who were on the enemy occupied line, but being there is one thing, and being there and working is a different thing. So let me quote you another piece. I want the dream of Slavyansk to come true. Whoever said whatever, the one who is eager to go to the end usually wins, but he left, right? So I guess he came to the front, got enough energy and made a few pictures. I got enough decisiveness to go to the end and move to a better place where it's nicer to go to the end, right? Somewhere near Moscow or somewhere in a good resort. Oh, right. Probably. And by the way, you did miss a new design that we released. Feygin and Arestovich. We're looking there in two different directions. Some evil tongues already claiming us to be part of LGBT culture here. But no, I totally deny all the accusations. This is a good picture. I like it. We'll try to make them a little more formal. And I got a mug presented to me with one of our designs. I actually drank some liquid from it yesterday. So once again, you do not walk around naked. You need new t-shirts, you need dress. Buy these. And all the money that you spend will be used to support victims of this war and people whose families and themselves suffered gravely. The one before that, I think, reminds me of the South Park. There are some good options here. So please partake in our merch campaigns. Once again, the more you buy, the more we can help. We'll have a bit of a pause now. We're looking for new candidates to support. And it's also related to accumulating a bit more funds. We do not distribute them in small chunks. Doesn't make much sense. Person will not really feel it if it's, under $100. So in life, same as in war, you need to concentrate your efforts before you get food. So yes, that's why we're aggregating up to at least a couple €1,000 and then doing direct targeted help. I think we'll meet tomorrow, right, at 10 p.m. And 1 hour before that, we'll have a surprise. We'll have a new unusual guest. Please do not miss. I will not announce that, not to curse it, but you might really like this guest. So yeah, come visit. And he'll probably be saying things that'll cause a real big depression in Kremlin. I will try to join as well. If everything works out, I'll try to join that guest. It depends upon how busy the day will be. So we do have negotiations about another interesting guest after. And yeah, not to curse that, we're not putting an announcement yet out. So my probability of joining the stream is about 99% as it stands now, so it'll be a good synergy if we do it. All right, so I hope we do gather together. Thank you everyone who watched us. Thank you, Olexiy. See you tomorrow.